What's up, guys? This is Krishna here. I hope you're all safe and well. Now, before I proceed any further, if you like this video, if it was helpful, please like, share, comment, and subscribe, because I do these videos for you guys, and subscription and watch time really makes me do more videos for you guys. Okay, thank you. So I've already set up a scene here for you. So let me just go through the pyro source right now. So this is a typical box, nothing fancy. I transformed it like that. And by the way, this is a project run through, because if I were to do a tutorial, this is going to take forever. So going ahead, I translated it. Just to be above the ground plane, and then I scaled it in such a way that it looks like that. Okay, so you can copy these numbers here if you like, right? And then I created a null, and then I went ahead and used the flames shelf tool. After that, I created all of these nodes, and I created a camera and a dome light camera. There you go. So if I were to run this through, but before that, I created this volume visualization as well. So without it, it'll just be like, well, wait a second, I'll enable that one. So without it, it'd be like that. That'll be what you will get directly from the shelf tool. Okay, let's run this through now. So go into pyro source, and I want to make some changes to the create fuel. First of all, I want to make a scatter. Oops, did I do that? Yeah, that's fine. And yeah, that's fine. 1,000 points is fine. Connect it and press L. Change the create fuel to keep input. Okay, everything else is typical apart from the particle separation. I want to change this to 0.011. Okay, so in here, add noise, I created a new node, and that's the original, and this is the new one. And I changed the mode to multiplicative, and I don't know if I'm saying that right, but anyway, so the attributes. This is all typical, but the noise type, I changed it from simplex to alligator, and remap noise is from 0 to 2. In the original is -1.9 to 1.9. I didn't want any negative values. The curve, I changed the curve slightly. Okay, and if you look at the pulse duration, I changed that to 0.2. Element size to 0.04, and it's the same element scale, and I wanted very small noise. Okay, because if you look at this, that's the noise you got there, and with this one, that's the noise you got there. Okay, and I also animated the offset in here. There is no animation in the fractal type. Fractal type, I enabled hybrid terrain. These are all typical values. Where is it? If I were to put in hybrid terrain, there you go. These are typical values. Okay. And then enable the lattice warp. Sorry. You don't need to do this, but you can just copy these values if you like. Okay. By default, that is not enabled. So I created a separate node for rasterize here. This is the typical rasterize that I got from the Flames shelf tool, and this is the one that I created. Here, if you notice that I've removed the velocity, and I've added coverage attribute to be fuel. Rest of them are all the same. Okay. It's normal stuff, and it's out fuel. Now let's check the difference, how it was originally to now. In fact, you know what, I'm going to create a comparison first. So I just want to add to this volume visualization here. This is basically just a smoke density field. Diffuse field is also density. Emission is emission scale for emission field temperature, emission color, heat, and I chose black body here for the emission color ramp. That's all really, nothing else, nothing fancy. So let me do a flip book on this. Just 40 frames, that should be enough. Okay, that's the difference between the two. So this is the typical one that you get out of the Flames shelf tool. This is the one after we modified our source here. Okay. All right, good. So I'm gonna keep these. I'm gonna keep this one. I'm gonna use that as a comparison for the next change. Okay. So let's go into the AutoDAP network here, and maybe we will increase the resolution to. We'll keep the resolution as such, just like the way it is right now. Okay, and these are all the same, no big deal here. Okay, so it's going to pyro source, and let's check what's going on here. So it added fuel, temperature, and velocity. Right, so I'm going to leave it as it is. In fact, I'm going to change it to change the velocity to none, because I'm going to bring my own velocity now. Okay, so let's run this through. So that made no difference, to be honest. Where is it? So that's that, and that's that. See, there's no difference between the two. Right, so let's create a velocity field. Okay, so I created this branch here. So what I'm doing here is, I'm creating normals, point normals, and then I am changing the y direction normals to go up by using an absolute here. Okay, if you don't use that, it just goes down. So I don't like that. So that's that. I'm gonna remove this clip. I just created a pop network, which is typical, nothing fancy really. It's just the first context, geometry, birth rate, these are all the same, typical stuff. Expectancy 0.4 and variance 0.4, expectancy 0.5, variance 0.4, birth time is negative. Attribute, use inherited velocity and scale it by 2. Now, in this point wrangle, I've said velocity is equal to the normals, okay? If not, you won't have any velocity to inherit. All right, so let's create fuel. Fuel is, again, the same as this. Maybe I should just change this, 0.011 here, which is fine. And then I just added the attribute velocity, nothing else. I disable the noise because I don't need any. It's a copy from here, you know. And in here, I'm only rasterizing velocity. Okay, nothing else. No coverage attribute or anything. Okay, so I call this out velocity here. Okay, so that's that. And let's go in and create this velocity here now. Okay, I created the velocity node. So I'm referring to the outval, and I created a velocity vector. Added the operation is add, and I scaled it by 10. Okay, let's have a look at how that looks. So that's how it looks. That's the original, and that was just before this change, and this is after this change. They look pretty similar to me. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the resolution because that's not very good. Okay, make it 0.02, and I'm going to run another flipbook. Okay, so here's how it looks at frame number 34, original, just before a previous change and the current change. Obviously this is a high resolution, it's not much different to these two. So I'm gonna delete this one. I'm just gonna leave this one here. Okay, right, so let's move on. Let's change the pyro solver now. First is simulation tab. Okay, so I changed a couple of stuff in here. Temperature diffusion, I changed it to 0.0145833. That's because that's the number I had from my tryouts. Buoyancy lift 0.5. The original values were this and that. Okay, because I made a copy of the original. So let's see how that looks now. Okay, so that's 34. That's the difference between the two: original, previous, current. Okay, so I'm gonna delete this one. Just gonna keep this one. Okay, good. Let's move on. Right, next thing is the combustion tab. Okay, so I made the change to the combustion tab. I changed the, here are the values, okay? The original values here. So, I changed the ignition temperature to -1. It was originally 0.1. Burn rate to 1.9. Burn rate is very important. I'll show you examples afterwards. So fuel inefficiency, again, I changed it to 0. I think it was 0.2. There you go. Output to 0.15 and gas release to 14, from 14 to temperature output to 10 and gas released to 10. This temperature output is also a very important parameter. Okay, I changed the flame height to 4. The rest of them are all the same. No change here, no change there. Let me just double check the smoke. Yeah, that's right. Temperature, I enabled flames influence cooling rate. This is a very subtle change, but it all adds up at the end. Okay, and then advection also I enabled and changed the fuel speed to 1. Again, these are all subtle changes that will make a big difference at the end. Okay, so let's run this and see what happens. So there's the difference: original, previous, current. Okay, all right, so this is what the changes to the combustion tab. Okay, all right, let's move on. So the next tab is shape. Okay, I made all the changes to the shape tab now. I changed almost everything apart from dissipation. I think dissipation is default. You can tell here, right? So disturbance of 0.1, shredding 0.001, sharpening, turbulence, confinement. All of this makes a huge difference at the end, you know. Little by little changes, subtle changes, everything makes a huge difference. But you're gonna have to play with these settings to see which one fits you better, okay? As far as the disturbance is concerned, I changed the cutoff and the block size as well. I think the typical ones are 0.1 and 0.077 from the shelf tool. Shredding, again, all of the bold text means I've changed, I'm sure you know. I've also changed the control field, which was originally what, for shredding, control field was density. I changed this to velocity and changed the ramp like that. I do want to point out that this is based on my understanding, so I'm sure there's going to be hundreds of other ways to do this, but anyway. So sharpness, no change there. Turbulence, again, all the bold texts were changed. There's nothing here because it was not enabled. So these are all the typical default values, but I changed them all. Grain size is important also. Okay, and then confinement. I changed the control field again. Confinement typical is that. I changed it to velocity, and I remapped the control field. I mean, didn't have to do it, to be honest, but that's there anyway. Okay, let's run this through and see how that looks now. Okay. So original, previous, current. So I don't see much of a difference between these two, but trust me, it will make a huge difference at the end. Okay, good. So I'll disconnect this. Let's move on. Color, no changes. Relationships, no changes. Advanced, okay. With the advanced tab, I enabled OpenCL. I added nothing to change here. Added rest field, or enabled rest field. Advection, I changed the advection type from modified McCormick to BFECC on both of these. Okay, so original, previous, current. So you can see things are changing quite significantly. So, okay, well, yeah, you could start to see that it's shaping up now here. Okay, right, let's move on. Okay, next thing is I'm going to start adding, in fact, next thing is I just want to reduce the fuel to 0.8 because I know that it's too much and I don't want to add too much of fuel. So I'm going to change it to 0.8 because that's the number that worked for me previously. I'm going to run this again. Okay, so again, original, previous, and current, and this is to do with the change I made to fuel addition. I changed it from 1 to 0.8. Okay, now I added these three elements. Now these three elements are exactly from the same nodes from my simple sexy explosion tutorial. It's on my channel, you can go check it out. I will leave a link in the description also. Okay, so basically this is gas vortex boost, gas combustion, and gas damp. Now all of these are exactly the same values from the other tutorial. Okay, so let's run this through. So there you go. This is the original, previous, and current. So I added these three nodes here now. Okay, this is gas match field, which is a wind field referring to velocity and rank as vector, nothing else. Gas field wrangle is I'm just creating the wind direction on the X, Y, and Z direction with a multiplier at 0.2. Okay, very typical. And then I'm advecting the gas using gas advect field node. I'm advecting everything, and the advection field, or what advects it, is wind. The advection scheme is BFECC. The rest of them are all default. Now this is from another tutorial that I found online. I don't remember which one. If I find it, I'll leave it in the description. Okay? Right. Let's run this through now. Okay, so after the addition of those three, that's your original, previous, and current. Okay, good. Now I've added a gas wind on top of the existing wind, again, in this direction with this scale. Okay, let's run through this again. Okay, so there you go. Original, previous, and current. Things are changing little by little. It's happening. Okay, good. Let's move on. Okay, so I added one more thing here. I closed the boundaries in the negative Y direction here, and I did the same. That's with the smoke object and with the resize container. I closed the boundaries everywhere but negative y direction. Okay. So then I went back to the pyro source and I forgot to add the ISO offset. Okay. Which I have added now, which is basically the same, but it scatters the points in the volume. If you don't have this, it just does it on the surface, which I don't like. So now it's doing it throughout the entire volume. Okay, so let's run that through now. Let's see how it looks. Okay, so again, another comparison. Oops, did it just die on me? No, that's good. So that's the original, that's previous, and that's the current. Okay, so I'm going to disconnect this. Okay, so there is only one last change now to do. And that's if you go into pyro source, you're going to create fuel node, change the particle size to 1 from 2. Okay, now let's run this baby. Magic. Wait for it. How about that? Original, previous, current. So every single change makes a huge difference. At the end, it will these little subtle things will all add up and make a huge difference. Okay, so there you go. You got the final result. So I'm going to close that. I'm going to stop this and move this over here. And that's our final result. Okay, that's our final result. Okay, I added an RS volume in here, and it's just typical settings, to be honest, nothing major. Density for your scatter channel, and I just moved this pointer just over here. Color channel is density, and absorption I'm not doing. Okay, there's no absorption here. Heat is the color channel, and I created this color ramp here. Now if you want to check out the color ramp, there is a tutorial that I created, Redshift Pyro Shader. I'll leave a link in the description, check it out. The only difference between that tutorial and here is that this little thing that I added, I added a black in between the white and the yellow. Okay, that's the only difference. Scale is 16. All of these interpolation is Calumet ROM. Okay, and if I go into advanced, didn't change the density remap range. Emission is 0.8, old max, and new max is 0.1. That's it. Let's oh, and I created Redshift ROP node. Okay, and this is typical. I added 3 AOVs: volume lighting, volume fog. Well, I don't need the diffuse, so it doesn't matter. And samples, max samples 128. Global illumination, brute force, primary and secondary engine, and GRA is 128. I changed the system bucket size to 256, and then IPR disabled, IPR progressive rendering. Okay, that's pretty much it. I think I'm just going to change this to current render frame, render current frame. I'm going to save this file. I'm going to go to 38, and I'm going to run a render. Whoa, what happened there? I also want, oh, showing up an error. Okay, I'm going to disable the denoise. Okay, so it's throwing some kind of error. I don't know what, But anyway, so that's there's one more thing I wanted to show you is that I allocated the material to the pyro output right here. And if you go into Redshift OBJ tab under volume, make sure you check use velocity grids, okay, so that it picks up motion blur. Right. Okay. Okay, I'm going to reduce the intensity multiplier of the light dome to 0.1. Let's see. Okay, we're getting somewhere, but I'm not seeing any flames. Okay, so I forgot to change the material. It was set to, I think, flames material for mantra. I changed it from that one to RS volume here. Okay, so let's run this now. There you go. You got something. Okay, so I'm gonna run a little render and I'm gonna come back. Okay, thank you. Okay, rendering is done. Let's have a look. There you go. Oh, obviously this is here because of the bounding box. Okay, you can adjust that. Right, so that's the result. If this thing here bothers you, how it looks, I'm just gonna disconnect it for now. I'm gonna create a grid. Disable the I'm gonna disable the sim mode up here, right, and go into the grid. I'm just gonna move this up a little. Let me just ghost the other objects. Just around there. I think that's good. Now if you render this, there you go. So you don't need to worry about that little, you know, about the part which was just constantly there. And that's from the source, obviously. After this, what I did was I took it to After Effects for some compositing. Obviously I added glow and all, you know, and that's why the result looks the way it does. So that's the end of the run through. I hope you liked it and I hope it helps. Please do not forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click on the bell icon for notifications for future videos. Thank you very much for your support, and be safe out there, and have a great day. Bye.